Hey guys, what's up? It's Detective here, investigating your favorite movies, and today I'm going to be talking. And today I'm going to be doing a movie review of Bugonia, directed by Yorgos Lanthimos. So, Bugonia is a new film from Greek filmmaker Yorgos Lanthimos, and he's been pumping out the movies lately 3 years in a row. 3 years in a row. In 2023, he came out with Poor Things, which was a huge hit, probably his hugest hit. So huge that it won tons of Oscars. It became his most popular film. Lots of people find out about his work because of Poor Things. And then we have Kinds of Kindness last year, which came out in Cannes. And then in Venice Film Festival, we have Bugonia. So, really crazy because Yorgos Lanthimos is one of the most interesting and eccentric filmmakers working right now. I have followed him since The Favorite, which was back in 2018. When I watched The Favorite back then, it was mind-blowing. I did not realize that a period film could have been so funny and lively and wacky and has so much style. Not long after, I watched The Lobster, and The Lobster absolutely blew my mind. I was hooked from beginning to end. There's something so cynical and darkly funny about the film, but also it's the social commentary. It's insightful, it's deep. And somehow, after a lot of thinking, I realized that I like The Lobster even more than Poor Things, even though for a lot of people, it's either The Favorite or Poor Things. But honestly, The Lobster and The Killing of the Sacred Deer, this era of Yorgos is probably my favorite era of Yorgos, simply because Yorgos is at his most restraint, yet at the same time his most hateful and cynical. And because of that, it's so funny and so creative, and something that I have never really seen before. Of course, his later work, like Poor Things, have greater production value, way fancier, crazy cinematography, crazy production design, but the story itself, the core of the story of Poor Things, being a female empowerment story, is just nowhere near as fun as The Lobster era Yorgos. So anyways, I digress. New movie, Bugonia. Fun fact, it's actually a remake of a Korean film from 2003 called Save the Green Planet. And before I watched Bugonia, I actually did my homework and watched Save the Green Planet, now available if you have Canopy. But Save the Green Planet by Chung Jun-hwan. That's the guy's name. Save the Green Planet. When I went into that film, I honestly didn't expect much. I honestly only expected a little Korean B picture, a little silly, whatever. But I came out of this movie a little bit surprised because I didn't know this movie would be so much fun. It's so whimsical, it's so creative, and with every interesting thing the film can pull off, it will pull off. It's very unpredictable, and it has all these genre clashes. It's partially torture thriller, it's partially a police procedural, it's partially a dark comedy, and it's partially sci-fi. But all of these genre clashes work together really well because they all feed into the central theme of the film, which is the society fucking over everyone. And so after Save the Green Planet, I was quite excited for Bugonia because I was wondering how would Yorgos Lanthimos put a spin on this story. Maybe it would be different. Maybe it would be more American-centric. Maybe it would have the crazy weirdness of a Yorgos film that the original doesn't have. On top of that, this film is written, Bugonia, the screenplay, is written by Will Tracy, who wrote The Menu. And I'm going to be honest here, while I thought The Menu was a fun movie, it's entertaining, but I do think it is coworker movie. I do think The Menu is just, watered down, entertaining, shut your brain off kind of movie. The central theme of The Menu is, if you're rich, you suck. which is true in some sense. If you're rich and you're privileged, then you are privy to feeling more cold and distant from literally the rest of the world. You are privy to being detached from the rest of the world. But the menu, at the end of the day, does not have amazing writing. The writing of the menu did not blow my mind or anything. So when some of my friends started to tell me that Bugonia is not good, I was a bit concerned. But then a couple other people really like Bugonia, and also it has like a 4.0 or 4.1 on Letterboxd now. So I honestly don't know. This film could either be mid or it could be peak. But either way, I'm going to the theaters and supporting cinema. So Bugonia. First of all, I'm going to be making a bunch of comparisons between Bugonia and the original Save the Green Planet, because honestly, because I've seen the Korean original film when I was watching Bugonia, I can't help but constantly compare the two films. So here are the major differences. First of all, Bugonia is way longer. Bugonia is 20 minutes longer than the original, but somehow it has even less story. The original film has an entire side plot line that is police procedural. We have the very smart police who got outsmarted, and then we have the also smart but kind of this rookie apprentice police that you kind of root for. And police procedurals are really important in early Korean cinema. If you've seen Memories of Murder, you know the drill. And that's kind of funny because Memories of Murder and Save the Green Planet both came out in 2003. As for Old Boy and Spring, Summer, Fall, Winter, Spring, and A Tale of Two Sisters. Crazy year for Korean cinema. Crazy. But also, speaking of Bong Joon-ho, Sang Joon-hwan actually worked for Bong Joon-ho in one of his earlier short films called Incoherence. So you can definitely see police procedurals being a common thread, but also very much so, the original film is about the Korean society. The main character of Bugonia, also the main character of the original, Teddy, and I forgot the name of the original, but the main character is the guy who kidnaps the CEO. And then later in the film, we learn that he is actually really tortured. He faced a lot of trauma. His mom is sick because of the company, and then that's pretty much it. The thing is, the backstory of the main character is way deeper in the original. In the original, you can see that he is basically broken by society. You see him being bullied, you see that no one likes him at all, and all that is built up to this moment of torture. In Bugonia, however, the entire backstory of Teddy's character is just that his mom is sick, which is not as powerful in my opinion. And Stavros Halkias is in Bugonia, which is unexpected and it's really funny. And there is a police visit scene involving him, and that was pretty smart. But the original movie, the original Save the Green Planet, that police visit scene is way longer, way funnier, way more suspenseful than the original. Case in point, there was a CCTV where Teddy, played by Jesse Plemons, used to look at his captive, who is Emma Stone, the CEO. In the original, there's also CCTV. But in Bugonia, Jesse Plemons just switches it off really fast. In the original, the main character had to distract the police and was like, "There's a UFO! There!" And then the police turns away, and then the main character uses his toes to switch off the CCTV. That's how whimsical the original film is. And when Yorgos Lanthimos is less funny and less whimsical than the original film, there's a problem. And the final act of the original film, way more violent and exciting and explosive. In this film, it's so much more safe and plain for some reason. So right off the bat, I already felt that the original is better. The other thing is Will Tracy, the writer of the menu in this film. It's clear that he wrote this film with an agenda. Again, I get it. I don't like CEOs as well. I don't like billionaires as well. But it's very clear that he's trying to humanize the main character more and villainize the CEO more in Bugonia. In the original, both of them are horrible. Both of them are horrifying. At some points, the main character is straight up a villain because he does so much torture porn. In Bugonia, it's actually not as violent or gross, at least for the most part. So when the CEO is more villainized, it just takes the moral ambiguity away from the movie. Instead, I start pitying and feeling bad and sympathizing for the main character, which is different from the original, which I like even more. The thing is, because this is not a script written by Yorgos Lanthimos, you can tell that Yorgos didn't write this. The dialogues are really natural. I was like, something's off about this movie. That's because the dialogues are not awkward and clunky. Usually in every Yorgos film, the dialogues are awkward and clunky, even though Poor Things and The Favorite are written by someone else. But it still very much fits into Yorgos' classic style. But the dialogues here are natural. You can tell that Yorgos wasn't even the first choice to direct the script. You can tell that Yorgos didn't put as much thought or style into it. It's easily the least Yorgos film Yorgos has ever made. And yeah, I mean, of course, I do think that out of all the filmmakers in the world right now, Yorgos Lanthimos might be the best director for this script. But even so, you can tell Yorgos doesn't have the same enthusiasm for Bugonia as he has for, his past work. And the cinematography is still great. It's good. It's great. It's not the best. Again, if you want to see great cinematography, The Favorite, Poor Things. But it's still good. I think a dingy old house and like a glassy modern building are really boring places to film. But Yorgos does a great job with wide-angled lenses, with interesting lighting, tungsten lights, etc. Also the DP Robbie Ryan, of course. I like the 1.5 to 1 aspect ratio. Super underrated, super underused aspect ratio. Mainly because it's super uncommon. It's usually 1.66. Any more narrow than that, then it's 4:3. So 1.5, the native aspect ratio of VistaVision, which by the way, One Battle After Another is also shot on VistaVision. Very interesting aspect ratio, worked perfectly well. And I also like that Michelle Fuller, Emma Stone's character, is so much more CEO-like than the original movie CEO. The words she uses, let's have a dialogue, let's have a talk, let's reach a consensus. The CEO talk is so inhuman, and even though she seems like a human being, she doesn't talk like one, at least, because again, CEOs and billionaires are like removed from the rest of humanity. And there are some shocking death scenes at the end of the film that was not in the original, that was quite shocking. And finally, my favorite part of the film has to be the final few shots. They are the most Yorgos moments of the entire film. And I'm not going to spoil what happens, but they are painterly, they are wide, they're grand, they're quirky, they're awkward, but they're also picturesque, and the last few shots are amazing. But the ending of the original film is better. I have to say it, the original just ends off better in a very explosive way. I think my final note for Bugonia is that no matter how good this movie is, I always find it interesting how a European sees American society. Of course, Wim Wenders with Paris, Texas, Paul Verhoeven with RoboCop, even Asians like Ang Lee with Brokeback Mountain. Seeing a non-American depict America is always interesting because you always see a new side that American filmmakers themselves do not expose. But either way, Bugonia, it's pretty good, but didn't really blow me away or anything. I'm kind of feeling a strong 7 on this movie. So have you watched Bugonia? Comments below, let me know. Subscribe if you want more. Thanks for watching.